Most people who know me probably expect me to follow up a Sonic video with another Sonic video, but I want this to be a sort of variety channel type of thing where I cover what I want to talk about or have an opinion on. Games new and old. In this case, I want to talk about Splatoon 3. Because I feel like Splatoon 3 is one of those sequels that expand and build off the last game in almost every way, and in my eyes is the best Splatoon game to date. I'm happy I can make that claim. It's definitely the step forward I feel the series needed after Splatoon 2. Which wasn't a bad game by any means. It was really good and had improved the mechanics from Splatoon 1 in almost every way like 3 does from 2, but what makes me think 3 is the best Splatoon game is not only due to its gameplay being way better and more convenient than in Splatoon 2, but it's the campaign in 3 that absolutely annihilates the campaign in Splatoon 2 for me. But let's cut the preamble and hop straight into Splatoon 3. Splatoon 3 starts with a character creation screen that shows a desolate wasteland. Your character is kind of just chilling in. And given that the Eiffel Tower is here, this is probably Earth after climate change gave us what we rightfully deserved. After customizing your character in a little small fry from the Splatoon 2 Salmon Run game mode, you quickly walk off into the tutorial area, which gets you familiar with the controls of Splatoon 3. Motion controls are on by default, utilizing the Joy-Con's gyroscope feature, which is used to aim your guns, but the right stick can still move the camera a little bit. Later on, you can set aiming to be with the right stick if you don't like motion controls. After the tutorial, you arrive at a train station and take the train to the new city of the game, Splatsville. Upon arrival, you tune into the daily news and see the new host of Splatoon 3. Shiver, Fry, and my personal favorite, Big Man! He's tall, handsome, and speaks in oi, 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 oi. The 3 announcers announced that once again, the great Zapfish has indeed been stolen. I don't know how the hell someone manages to steal a big ass electric catfish 3 times in a row now and not get caught by some kind of security. The perpetrator's vanishing act must be immaculate. Without the Zapfish, Splatsville won't have enough power to continue running the city, and the 3 news reporters suggest conserving power until either the Zapfish returns or a solution is found. After you tune out from the news, you're told by the game that an old dude is scoping you out from the sewer. From here, you can either start playing some multiplayer matches or investigate that strange peeper. For right now, I'm going to save the multiplayer stuff for after I talk about the plot, as I have far more to say about the plot than the multiplayer. So after following the old man into the sewer, you appear in this desolate wasteland area outside of Splatsville. The old man then tells you that the Octarians are coming. Splatoon fans will easily recognize him as Captain Cuttlefish, now the senior advisor to the new Squid Splatoon. He believes that the one behind the Great Zapfish kidnapping are the Octarians, as they were the ones behind the previous 2 Great Zapfish kidnappings. After asking us to join his cause and taking our silence as a yes, and having us accept a generous pay of $0 an hour, your character, now Agent 3, and the captain set out to explore the area searching for signs of the missing whiskerfish by trying to break into an Octarian base below. You're given this new hero suit to help you fight opposing Octarians and a little help from your small fry or little buddy. There's also this fuzzy ooze everywhere, and the Captain Cuttlefish warns against touching it, and for good reason. I wouldn't want to look like the prisoner in the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog either. The little buddy seems to have an appetite for this stuff as he eats the fuzzballs, clearing out the area of the fuzzy ooze if you have enough power eggs to power him up to give him the appetite to do so. After making your way down to the bottom, a mysterious robot slides down the side of the canyon and reveals himself to be the returning DJ Octavio. He claims that his troops has gone missing and believes the captain here is behind it. The captain believes the DJ stole the great Zapfish, and since he's the leader of the Octarians, he orders you to take him out. After defeating Octavio, the captain is quick to note that the DJ's defeat felt too easy, almost as if he wasn't using the growl of the great Zapfish at all, to which Octavio reveals that he never had it at all. And right when the captain begins to question who does, the fuzzy ooze begins to erupt from the ground and cause it to collapse, and a mysterious figure kidnaps the captain during the fall. After waking up, you're greeted by the Squid Sisters, Callie and Mary, and their captain being the original Agent 3 in Splatoon 1, forming the new Squid Splatoon. The sisters ask you to help them locate Cuttlefish, as he could be in danger after being separated. Mary tells you that you're in a place called Altera, a desolate, snowy, cave-like area with 6 islands, or sites as they call them, and a rocket in the middle, and clearly an ooze problem. Before the game started, I'm guessing, the sisters put a tracking device on Cuttlefish and are using that to help find his location, but they're currently getting a signal from 3 different places on the map, and it's our job to check each one of those places out. After a bit of exploring, we find one of the members of Deep Cut here inside Alterna. Turns out, after defeating Octavio, the trio were quick to follow as they are all treasure hunters and sensed that this unknown area could house some valuable treasure of some sort. You fight each member of Deep Cut here, each having a boss fight with some unique patterns, except for the Big Man, whose boss is a Superman Sunshine reference, which is pretty cool. After defeating a boss, you get a thing, and after getting 3 of these things, you begin to get a signal coming from the tip of the rocket. I should also mention that after defeating a boss, you usually get a cutscene that shows your efforts trying to have a conversation with the captain as he contacts you and lets you know that he's okay, and trying to find a way out of the room he was put in. Which ends in vanity, there's a mysterious voice coming, and the person this mysterious voice belongs to knows who Cuttlefish is. He tells him to call him Mr. Grizz, who's the same guy you work for when playing both Salmon Run in Splatoon 2 and in this game. Later, Mr. Grizz takes Captain Cuttlefish and he goes offline, but before that, Cuttlefish mentions that his left knee is aching, which usually happens at a high altitude. Naturally, the twins come to the conclusion that he's at the tip of the rocket, but seemingly have no way to get there, and there's too much fuzz for Small Fry to eat. The twins then get the idea to use the stuff you get from the boss fight to make these giant clippers and have the old Agent 3 use them to cut the fuzz around the rocket with this Super Saiyan-esque glow. Which, considering Agent 3's boss fight in the Octo expansion, yeah, I totally buy that she can do this. Once you make it to the Rock Island, you get stopped by Deep Cut, and they are pretty pissed that Agent 3 kicked their ass, but because we used the treasure to get here, we don't need it anymore, so we just kinda give it to them. Big man! They all get confused and accept the treasure, but feel bad for giving us a hard time, and decide to work for us. With the twin sisters, Deep Cut, and sprained tentacle Agent 3 by our side, we make our way up to the tip of the rocket to confront Mr. Grizz. But not without finding a de-evolved cuttlefish on the ground. Mr. Grizz's plan is to return the Earth to the natural state of being, where mammals ruled over the globe instead of the sea life. He plans to do this by covering the globe in the fuzzy ooze to restore the balance. The Agent 3s and the gang aren't having that, and with the help of Deep Cut along with the Big Man, they give Agent 3 a method of travel to give chase and stop the Grizzly once and for all. After super jumping off Shiver's shark, we land on a rocket in space. We're face to face with the Grizz and we seem to have him on the ropes until he causes an explosion on the ship and sends Agent 3 flying into space. All is not lost though, as we are promptly saved by DJ Octavio, and with the help of our Small Fry absorbing the marine life energy like a spirit bomb, we take the fight to Mr. Grizz once and for all and suck all the ooze off of him. After that, a massive explosion happens, we get our little buddy back, and the great Zapfish is returned to Splatsville as the Grizz was using it to power his spaceship. And with that, Splatoon 3 comes to a close. Splatoon 3's campaign is a step up from 2's in every way. It expands on the lore, gameplay, and progression. The characters are charming, and/or frankly cute and adorable, with the awkward poses they do sometimes that get no response from the new Agent 3. After beating a site, you unscramble these Alterna logs, which explain what happened to the humans and why Alterna exists. Due to humanity fighting and draining the planet of its resources and causing essentially climate change, humanity mostly went extinct, save only a few survivors. These survivors lived here in Alterna and developed a livable situation. Scientists were the highest in power because it was up to them to save the human race, and eventually they had a pretty good civilization going. Eventually, through the use of 3D printing, they were able to recreate things like housing and monuments. They also created an information management system designed to record all of humanity's knowledge and observe and record new data. That computer system being called ORCA, or Omniscient Recording Computer of Alterna. Sometime later, scientists found a way to make liquid crystals from squid body fluids, and these crystals would change color and essentially read minds and then output imagery that matched the viewer's thoughts. These crystals were then mass-produced and were lined along the walls and roof of Alterna, soaking up the thoughts of those who lived there and projecting back the image of the sky, which explains the weird sky in Alterna. After a few years, these scientists grew old and a new generation of scientists were around, but these guys were born and raised in Alterna. And because of this, they wanted to explore outside the cavern against the wishes of the elders. This curiosity ended in tragedy though, as the rocket thrusters that they built to escape the cavern began to melt the crystals in the sky, causing the rocks beneath them to crumble and cave in, killing everybody who once lived in Alterna. Honestly, if Splatoon keeps delivering interesting lore like this, then I am totally on board. I love reading about what happened to different characters across this series, whether it be how they went from opening their shops, or in Pearl Marina's case in this game, learning that Off the Hook went global and are on tour. I love stuff like that. So what's the actual gameplay of this campaign like? Well, the team behind the game took cues from the Octo expansion by allowing you to spend a currency to partake in specially designed challenges. In said challenges, what weapon you choose will make the game harder or easier and determine what egg payout you get in the end. To enter one of these levels, just like in Splatoon 1 and 2, you have to find a kettle, spray it with ink, and then submerge yourself inside the kettle. Each site has a bunch of fuzzy ooze that you need your small fry to clear out and make way to more kettles and access more of each site. There's actually a bunch of things to find and collect on these sites, such as sunken scrolls, which have little world building tidbits inside them, sardinium, which is used to unlock different paths in your skill tree, which you need upgrade points to actually get the ability in the tree, which you can get that by playing the game and unearthing these loot anchors you can find on the ground signaled by this red beacon thing, or they can just be invisible underground and you need your ink over it to uncover it. Sometimes your little buddy will glow and point you where these things are to help you find them, but his AI can be questionable at best. The actual level design in these levels are really good and have the creativity I love so much in the Octo expansion. Although, just like the Octo expansion, there are levels here that make me want to throw enemy ink right down my esophagus. Especially the levels that ask you to be precise, because I chose to use the weapons that gave me more eggs. That often meant that I was using a weapon that required more precision. And when there's a level that revolves around shooting targets on rails and messing up means starting the whole level over, it's the worst. A couple of these levels will test your skills, and while that's not a bad thing, sometimes it can leave me feeling annoyed and wanting to go back for more turf wars. Speaking of turf, let's finally talk about what you'll be doing most in Splatoon 3. Online. Immediately once you touch down in Splatsville, you'll be told that you can go into the lobby and play some turf war matches. It's not like you can do anything else, as every store will bar you out because you're not quite fresh enough. After being kicked to the curb like a bum, you'll take the turf war and immediately there are improvements to how the online works. For starters, there are actual lobbies now! You can hang around here, dick around with your friends, practice weapons on these testing dummies, and do other cosmetic things like customizing your locker. These loot anchors you collect in the story mode house decorations or vinyls, and the decorations can be used to customize your locker. Other people can see your locker, and you can check out theirs as well. You can also customize a COD-esque banner and have it shown with your teammates' banner in the game. When you start out, you'll have a player as your username, but after a match, the game will let you change it to whatever you want. Once you reach level 4, stores will allow you to shop there after lifting their discriminatory ban. Buying clothes with the coins you get online allows you to gain access to their abilities, and every piece of clothing has a main ability and a sub ability, which gets determined after your gear levels up and randomly picks one for you. What's that? Don't like the ability on your gear? Well, that's where merch comes in. Outside the lobby, you can have him scrub your gear and it'll make the slot empty again. And from that, you'll get these things called ability chunks, which if you get enough of them, you can actually use them to pick any ability you want, given that you have the corresponding chunk for it. If you're connected to the internet and walk around Splatsville, you're bound to notice the different characters walking around. If you like their drip, you can actually have merch order it for you, and it's up in the air whether he'll give you the exact copy of the clothes or a different version of it, which at that point, if he does, well, then you're the kid walking around with off-brand Nikes. Now, as for that gameplay, it's the typical Splatoon gameplay that you know, with some key changes. You can now instantly roll backwards while swimming in ink, useful for evading enemy fire and those buttload of auto bombs that will inevitably be thrown at you. You can also now hold the B button and quickly swim up walls. The graphics have had a bump from the last game a bit, and the guns feel better than they ever have before. Speaking of guns, the two new weapon types in this game are bows and katanas. One feels like the ink brush, but a bit more powerful, albeit a bit slower, and the other one feels like a sniper, but the arrows explode more ink on contact with the surface, which sometimes can finish a player off. The typical ranked modes are back, which consist of Splat Zones, Tower Control, Rainmaker. Ooh! Let's go, baby! Let's go, baby! I got the Rainmaker! I got the Rainmaker! Green! Grove Street! Grove Street! Grove Street! Let's go! Let's go! Push! 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 Fuck! And Clam Blitz. This mode is so ass. Salmon Run is still here, and this time there are new bosses to beat and maps to play on this mode. You can also throw eggs, which speeds up the game as you can now haul multiple eggs at one time and throw them in the basket from a distance. Every once in a while a massive salmonid will appear and you will have to throw your eggs at it to damage it. I've never beaten one of these things, so I don't know what you get for beating them, but I'm sure the reward is bigger than the brain in these things' skulls. There's one last game mode to go over, and that's the card game they decided to add. This game is basically a tile-based puzzle game you can play with a friend, where you play cards with certain ink patterns on them on the board and try to occupy more spaces than your opponent. I'm still kind of confused on the rules, but I'm sure once you actually learn how to optimally play this game, someone will sweep someone in a match of this game and say it's in the heart of the cards. And that's Splatoon 3. Overall, it's a massive step in the right direction for this series, and it's definitely worth picking up if you haven't already. And even if you have Splatoon 2, I would recommend buying this game. The story is great, the characters are memorable, and the gameplay is the best it's ever been. If you weren't vibing with the gameplay in the other two games though, I don't think this game will change your mind. Maybe skip this one if that's the case. Finally done with the video. This review was slightly longer than my last one. Been kind of getting more adjusted to the process, and I think that's pretty cool. Definitely found a better way to integrate the audio into the actual editor this time instead of just doing it the other tedious way I was doing it. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. All that stuff actually really helps the channel out a lot and helps to get pushed more so more people will watch it. And yeah, if you made it this far, thank you.